No,
Record.
Rachel.
Oh, Rachel does?
Well, we were a bunch of people called it earlier. Too many people called it today.
Okay. So first things first. New reading quizzes up. New Write Club. Where's this stuff? Okay, assignments. I admit I did not get Write Club number 4 graded, but that doesn't stop me from putting up Write Club number 5. So let's share it. This is Write Club number 5. I'll get it done tomorrow and pop it off on Thursday of our best Disney parks. So one of the other things that writers need to do is come up with place names. We have to do this all the time. Generally, there are placeholder names for place names that either level designers or tech people come up with as things are getting built. So you might have the city or the forest or the sewers. It's always a wonderful one. Yeah, by the way, sewers, if you just call a place the sewers, no, don't do it for this. It's tempting, I know. And then they either leave those placeholder names in there, or they actually pay a writer enough to do a pass and have actual named places. We're going to pretend that we work for a company that pays their writers well. And we're making a hard-boiled detective game. We don't know what kind of game it is. Doesn't matter. We're writers. We don't care. One game is as good as another, but it has places in it, and those places need names. So a place can be anything as small as a bar or a street, a neighborhood, or a city, can even be a whole country or planet. It's up to you. A place. But it has to be noir. It has to be hard-boiled detective. It has to say that it belongs in that world. So the example I came up with is actually from Batman. It's Crime Alley. It is where Batman's parents were murdered. And if you're a rich doctor and his family on the way home from the opera, why would you cut down Crime Alley? That seems like a bad place to go. And yet, that's exactly where Batman's parents went. Is that Crime Alley? Where are you, Karen? You're on the prow of a ship. Is it the Titanic? No, there's a dragon coming. I don't know. Okay, so the Crying Kitten, the Death Star remastered. Death Star is Star Wars. It's not really noir. The Crying Kitten, maybe. Think about it. You get 3 chances as usual. Any one of them is good enough. If any one of them passes muster, if I'd use it in a game, you get credit. As usual, shorter is usually better. And if you feel free to explain it if you want, like Joe's Bar is a bar where owned by a guy named Joe. I don't know. I'm just saying, if you need to explain the place, that's fine. Just in general, I'm sorry, we've been getting a lot of calls today. Hold on while I mute for a second. It was no one. So if you have to explain it, it's probably not as good as one that everyone is clear on immediately. Just saying. But take a shot. Maybe it's the best one, right? Diagon Alley is from Harry Potter, yes. And Dragon Alley is not. But there's Damnation Alley, that fabulous. I got it. Damnation Alley. Jan Michael Vincent drives a Winnebago through post-apocalyptic. Yes, post-apocalyptic Winnebago. Great movie. Not really. It's terrible. Anyway, okay. So you got till Thursday. Oops, wrong one. You got till Thursday to come up with noir places. Okay? Go for it. Upload it, and we'll go from there. Next, ARGs. I'm going to stop the share. I noticed, what did I notice? It looked like Emily, when was this? Sunday, I was sitting here online. I forget what I was doing, and I kept hearing the little. Maybe I was streaming. I don't know. I kept hearing the little beep beeps from Discord through the whole thing. And I'm like beep 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 beep, and I'm like, oh, somebody's talking, and I kept looking over to see if the little light went on that somebody was messaging me, and no one was. And I was like, oh, okay, there's no questions for me to answer here. They're just talking amongst themselves. Yay. So it looks like a bunch of you solved it on Sunday, right? The locksmith, uh, what is it called again? The missing locksmith. In fact, I had read it. Where am I? I got to come back to you. I had read it, and I looked up that Jane Eyre, the fourth word of Jane Eyre was possibility. And then I said, oh, I got to start solving. And then I had a stream, and things got away from me. And I looked in today, and it looks like, actually, you guys, I was going to lord it over the 3 p.m. class, who a bunch of them, well, 2 of them got together on Sunday in the Discord and got through 2 puzzles and then said, oh, I don't know. And that was the end of it. And I'm like, 4 o'clock, solved it. Ha ha ha. But just before class, a bunch of them got on and solved it. So it looks like it was Emily, whoever 2C is, Rachel, and that's it. Solved it on Sunday. And then today we got Jaden. Man, you guys with your names. Dan with W's. And some and Griffin was in there. Did you solve it? You solved it on Sunday, right? Yes, Emily, you solved it. Shake your head, yes. Okay. Um, Griffin helped it get started. Su Yi helped. Is Su Yi Dan Dan? Oh, Tusi. Okay. Oh, that makes sense. Su Yi and Tusi. There were 11 words. Okay. So out of 25 of us, actually 27, right? We had, what's it look like? 5 out of the 27? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of the 27. Obviously, Jaden was just talking, but you were there, Jaden. You were there for people to bounce ideas off of. Jared would have liked to have played, but I spent all weekend on the story and the comp sci assignment that were all due at midnight last night. Yeah. So let me get my calculator out. I'm going to say 6 divided by 27 because I'm counting Karen and I equals 22% of the people in this class played it. Or at least obviously played it. I assume the rest of you involved your families or your roommates or your significant others, and you did not get on the Discord. You just solved it all on your own time, just in your mind. You thought about it and you solved it. But 22% is very good for an alternate reality game. The average number, well, okay, so there are 3 kinds of players of alternate reality games, and I am going to get out my little whiteboard, which I have learned new things about. I'm going to make this. Okay. And then I'm going to do this. And another one here. And another one here. And then I'm going to go there. I'm going to do that. And now I have a pyramid. Drawing. So 3 kinds of players. And I'm going to start at the top of the pyramid. These are the smallest. These are what you guys think of as the players, right? And this is true not just for ARGs, but for any kind of game or any kind of media. About 2% are what you would think of as your hardcore. Over the last couple of years, hardcore players has taken on some other connotations. It's a gatekeeping thing that I don't quite like. But these are the people who solve all your puzzles, look in for new content daily, check with other players to see if they're doing stuff. And basically, these are the ones who play the game every day. And this goes not just for ARGs, but for any kind of ongoing game. So I have played Fortnite once, right? I am not a hardcore player of Fortnite. I have played Call of Duty a couple of times. I generally do the single player and ignore the multiplayer. That's That's kind of weird. Nobody plays Call of Duty for the single player, apparently. But then I haven't played a Call of Duty since the one that was had Kiefer Sutherland in it. So that was a while ago. So here, if we look at big alternate reality games, and alternate reality games have been around since about 2000. One of the biggest ones was something called I Love Bees, which was developed by Microsoft Game Studios, which is the same people who invented the modern ARG with the AI game, The Beast. But this was developed by a marketing company called 42 Entertainment. And the people who worked for 42 Entertainment went on, they went on to make all sorts of other kinds of alternate reality games and transmedia projects. And they said 3 million players played I Love Bees. And that 3 million players played I Love Bees, included everyone on this pyramid. When I talked to people who actually worked on the game, and I said, yeah, 3 million, that's how many unique hits to the website there were, right? And they're like, yeah. How many people really played it? And I was told around 130,000. So if we do clear, we do 130, 1, 2, 3, divide it by 3 million. That's 4%, 4.33333%, right? So 4%. So you guys did much better, or at least this person did much better, because we got 22% playing this game this week, the Locksmith game. Partially that's because I assigned it and there was an expectation that you should go play it. So it's kind of a captive audience. Certainly, even with it being assigned, but you notice there was no grade involved. So most people maybe looked at it. So if we go down to the second group, casual players, this is you, Jaden. You were there, or was it Jordan? Was it Jordan or Jaden? He said you weren't really working on it. It was Jaden. I didn't actually contribute anything. I was just replying about Discord formatting. But still, people who were there and didn't solve things were the audience, right? The people who were solving things felt seen by the people who weren't. The casual player is the people who start the ARG, and they check in, and they're the people who say, I'm really terrible at puzzles. I can't do puzzles, but this is really cool, and I want to find out how it comes out. And they pop in maybe every day, maybe a couple times through the course of the game. And they keep track of what's going on and where everybody is. And again, casual players have gotten this gatekeeping thing of the filthy casual, oh, they don't know how to play the game. They're terrible. in regular video games. And yet, there are many, many more casual players of every game than there are hardcore players. It's just that for some reason, uh, we cater to the hardcore. I want to. So if I do this and this, it's actually more like this and this, right? So who's more important? Is it the hardcore or is it the casual? Right? Because there are many, many more casuals. So and then finally, the last kind, and actually, uh, we could say these are by far, no, by far the largest group, is what in ARG parlance is called the drive-by. And these are the people who hear about the thing, and maybe there's a Jordan in the other class. I think there is. Anyway, the drive-bys, they hear about it. They go to see what's up, and either they're uninterested or they say, "Oh, I got to find out what happened," and then they never come back. Or maybe weeks or months later, they just stop by, and maybe it's over, and they found out what happened. They then read what happens. Looks like Rachel, I remember getting super into one of your classes ARGs a couple of years back, the Sunseekers ARG. Yes. So you were hardcore, Rachel, back then? Would you consider yourself hardcore, casual, or drive-by back then? Typing. Rachel wandered away. Oh, you got MVP. Awesome. So you were totally hardcore. Okay, well, I'm glad you came back. Because now you get to make one. So here's the thing. You're going to have, there are 23 people in the other class, and they are required to play your ARG. You have a captive audience, but part of your mandate is to get as many other people like Rachel, who was not in the class, to come along and play, right? And normally on the last day of classes, I invite, and I will invite you virtually in Zoom, to come to the 3:00 class, so that they have players and they can talk. You can talk to them, and they can talk to you about the experience of playing their ARG from 3 to 4, and then from 4 to 5, I invite them to stay and talk to you about playing your ARG. Okay, so that's kind of the last day. Plus, I give out prizes for most valuable player, prizes for most valuable creators, and other silly prizes that I come up with along the way. Generally, these are swag that I pick up at various conferences and PAX and stuff. And one year I gave everybody a copy of 50 Cent Blood in the Sand. That's always been popular. It's a terrible game. Well, it's not a terrible. It's stars 50 cents. I mean, you know, take it from there. And it was a 360 game. So this year I'll probably give out game codes, just like I have been. So okay, so let's switch over. New share. Let's go here. Share. And not right club, but this is you guys. Assignments. And make an ARG. Okay. So you've got a little over 2 weeks to make at least the beginnings of an ARG. So the ARG has to be discoverable by 5 p.m. Wednesday, May 6th. It has to be completable by noon on Monday, the 11th. That means that everything that players need to finish it has to be available to them by then. The ARGs have to be finished by 7 p.m. on that Monday, one way or another. That means that there has to be a win or a loss condition. Okay? Each day, there have to be 2 story beats and 2 gameplay beats. I got to edit this because it used to say one of which of each has to be online. All of which must be online. There we go. Save. You're seeing the teacher interface. Oh my. All of which must be online. So that's the weird thing this year. Although I'm all for it because generally I sit at home and try and play the ARGs, and some years there's all sorts of cool stuff online for me to do. Some years I solve puzzles and I get into it and I become a player, and some years it's all kind of running around campus. This is a group ARG. All 25 of you will be making this. All 25 of you will be solving the other classes ARG. Okay? This is quite possibly, well, it is the one and only chance for 25 people in a class to work on a single project. But if you think about it, a small to mid-sized game studio is around 20 to 30 people. So if you get hired by a professional game studio, this is about the size of the group you'll be working with. Within that, you'll have, if you're a programmer, you'll have I'm part of the tools pair. There's 2 of us working on tools. Yes, everyone in the class is the group, Stanley, but you will all have roles. So just hang on a second. 2 story beats, 2 gameplay beats, and we can talk about that more. There's a win-lose condition. If a player wins, they should have something that says a winner is you, right? Let's see. This could lead to a greater likelihood of diffusion of responsibility. How can I discern what to do? Bear with me, Stanley. I'll get there. there must be a place for your players to meet and discuss. I made the Locksmith ARG discussion channel on the Discord. You have to make a place for your players to talk. You must make a disclaimer page that clearly states that this is a game. And the first group, if for instance you solve their ARG first, then you get 5. Everybody in the class gets 5 extra credit points towards this assignment. If they solve yours first, then everybody in the class, in their class, gets 5 extra credit points towards this assignment. One or the other. This is my incentive to get y'all to work, or to get y'all to play their game and them to play your game. So in a way, I'm kind of pitting you against each other, but in the past, it's been a friendly rivalry. Please don't be mean. Don't be jerks. And make your game good. Yes. I also have achievement points for creating your ARG. I'll get to those in a second. And the ARGs run for 6-ish days. You're going to have to plan the whole thing out ahead of time. So I will break this up into which group is which part of things. But the way we break it down, new share, where's this? Share. Okay, so in the past, I have 5 groups, a group of leads, and then a group for each of the 4 characters that are in the character, in the ARG. There's a sidekick, a mentor, a goddess, and a villain. You notice there's one character archetype missing. Which one's missing? Ooh, hero. Why is the hero missing? It's the player. Yes. Way back when, I would spring cold "What's an ARG" on people, and they'd be like, and I'd get all sorts of things. Isn't that the thing where you're a spy? And I'd be like, no. Is that the thing where you're like a superhero? No. The thing about ARGs is that you are you. You are you have exactly the number of skills and talents and abilities that you have. No more, no less. And you, student living at home or in an apartment or wherever it is in isolation, are embroiled in a web of espionage and intrigue, right? Are part of this UFO conspiracy theory, are trying to keep the demons at bay, whatever. There is no hero. The hero is you. But the wonderful thing about ARGs is it crowdsources playing, right? Because just like with the Locksmith ARG, 3 of you banged through it and solved it and talked to each other. And if one of you came up with the idea of how to solve it, it was there on the Discord, and everybody else went, "Oh, cool, you're so smart," right? And then somebody else would come up with something else. And if one of you solves it, all of you solve it. It's about crowdsourcing solutions. So back during that I Love Bees game, the players were just chewing through content at a reckless rate. Well, not reckless, but they couldn't keep the players fed. So they tried to come up with as hard, as difficult a puzzle as they possibly could, and they figured out a puzzle that you needed to be a biochemist to solve. And they're like, oh, this will be great. By the time they look all this stuff up, learn biochemistry, we'll have a week to be able to create new stuff. We'll get a little rest. It'll be fine. And they solved it in 3 hours because there were 4 biochemists playing. So you can't always, you can always count on crowdsourcing. How many endings can we have? Exactly 2, a winning ending and a losing ending. That's it. Okay, so you'll see though that there's another way of looking at this. We have leads instead of the hero. Leads are the people in charge, so the lead writer will be in charge of the overall story, whereas the sidekick writer will create the character Bible for the sidekick, and anything that the sidekick needs online. The sidekick's diary is on a WordPress site. Somebody's got to write that diary. The sidekick writer would write it. Same with the lead artist is in charge of who's doing what and what's going on, and picking up the kind of in between stuff. But say the villain is evilcorporation.com, and they need a corporate website and they need a logo. The villain artist would come up with that. Gameplay, remember gameplay, you need 2 gameplay beats and 2 story beats. Oh, by the way, artist, I interpret as not just drawing, but all the arts. So certainly be an artist if you're into creating visual art, but suppose you're a cool sound designer, right? And we need a recording from 1906, the Everest expedition that's been found. How do we get Stanley to record? And then I came across a cave and there were strange aliens inside the cave. But we need to make that recording sound like it's all scratchy and old, right? Join the artist group. Same if you've been making YouTube videos for the last 5 years, and you know how to edit video. Get the artist group because you're going to be making videos. Every year, the ARGs look and feel different based on the talents of the people in the class. Some years we get amazing painters. Other years we get maker types who know how to laser cut wood blocks, right? And suddenly we get wood blocks. I've got all sorts of wacky, wild artifacts from previous ARGs. I've got a metal Stonehenge in my office at school, made by the artists. So gameplay is both puzzles and activities. It doesn't just have to be codes and ciphers. You can do activities like take a picture of yourself with a sweet potato and send it here. Is the villain okay? Lots of questions coming in from people. Can the villain be inconspicuous, or does the villain have to be obvious? Either. That's up to your writers. I don't care. Come up with a good story. In the past, super good guy has turned out to be the villain. Benevolent corporation has turned into evil corporation. And tech. Tech can be as simple as I know how to set up websites, or I am a Java programmer and I can make an Android app that everybody can download for their phones, right? at the very least, you're going to have to set up some websites for your various characters and the story. Could one character take both roles, like the sidekick is actually the villain? Um, yeah, I'm open. The problem is then you combine groups, right? So um, so keep maybe not. I don't know. I'm open, but suddenly then you have 10 people working on one character instead of five, and five is already a lot. Um, the other thing, though, here, producers. Producers are the people making sure things get done, right? And if we have five producers, then what has happened in the past is the lead producer has just tons of work. And uh, if the sidekick group is doing really well and they're all motivated, then the sidekick producer doesn't really have much to do because his group is managing themselves and doing really well. On the other hand, if the mentor group is just a mess and two of the people ghosted and haven't done anything, and all they do is um, send emails saying, "Where are you?" and get no reply, that's not much of a job either. So, what I've done since then, we really don't need five producers, but just having one lead producer is a lot of work for one person. So we have two producers, a lead and the sidekick, but really they're co-producers. They work on it together and back each other up so that nobody gets crushed. And then the other three people are player recruiting. This is both the people who have to work to get people to play your game, to onboard people throughout. So on day one, when the rabbit hole goes live, that's great. The people who joined then are on board. But on day two, when people just discover it and say, "Hey, how do I get into this thing that's been going on since Wednesday?" Somebody should be around to say, "Hey, come on in here. This is what we've done so far. This is the story so far. Um, uh, jump in here." So you can. So there's that. There's getting people to play your game, and then there's also organizing you all to play the other game, because some of you will have done a whole bunch of work before the whole thing starts, um, and be pretty much done. Like the lead writer maybe has written everything and it's all up and it's all ready to go, and has plenty of time to play. Whereas the gameplay person is still putting together their daily activities, and they have to be in there on the day, right? So player recruiting keeps a running tally of who's playing on what days and what they're doing, to keep everyone motivated to play. So I have a whole bunch of questions. Is everyone limited to one job the whole time? For instance, if I know how to make art and websites and want to work on both, absolutely, please do. These are a way so that people like Stanley asked earlier, "Oh my God, how do I know what to do and what not to do?" I don't know. There's so much to do. This is to give the whole thing structure, but in general, use use your talents where they apply. Um, uh, these are all kind of, so in the past also, people have kind of said, okay, the writing group, let's just meet as the writing group and write all of it. And not kind of break down that way. Or let's get all the artists together and assign things out based on uh, uh, their talents, rather than, the sidekick artist is really great at graphic design, so the sidekick has this amazing website, whereas the goddess artist is all about sound design, and so their website looks terrible. Well, let the graphic designer do all the websites and let the sound designer do all the sound. So this is a way to give structure, but you are not limited by it. What do producers do? Producers do scheduling. Producers check in with everyone to make sure that they have what they need. So there, the biggest thing is dependencies. So the tech people have the website URL all set up, but they're waiting on the writers to do the text, and the artists to do the art, and the artists are waiting on the writers to tell them what the art should look like. And so the producers are the ones who facilitate the communication and say, hey, artists need to know this and this and this to get started on the art. Can you give them that right away, and then write the text for the website? So it's all about scheduling, dependencies, and filling in so that, like, hey, we haven't seen the goddess tech person in a while, and we still need these things. Is there somebody else who can do this, just in case the world has caught up with this other person? Um, so uh, so that said, let's go back to here, share, and go to people. And you can see I've got our groups. I've got, see, some of you have already put yourselves, oh no, this is this thing. I've got groups for artists, gameplay. Notice there are only 2 producers. Recruiters, there are 3 of you, tech and writers. We'll talk more about it on Thursday, but if you've got a very clear idea of what you want to do, put yourself in a group. Also, please, those of you who want to be the producers, and you're going to run the meetings, I'm going to make you a co-host of the Zoom and turn the class over to you and say, let's do breakout sessions where, hey, we're going to learn Zoom and how to do little breakout groups in Zoom so that you can talk amongst yourselves, and there aren't 25, 27 of us all in this Zoom thing. So what I hope is, what would be really bad is all the other spots are taken and only the producers are left, and those are the people who didn't show up, so they're running the whole thing, right? So please, if you want to run this whole thing, get in there, be a producer, send me email, I'll put you in. Or if you're unsure and want to talk about it, either on Discord or on email. Although Discord has been working really well, I see that um, uh, a lot faster than I check my email because I have so much other email. So check in with me on Discord. Send me a private message on Discord if you're unsure. If you have more questions about any of the roles, we'll be dividing up. We are not going to leave on Thursday until everybody has a role. And yes, it is an excellent experience, Karen. Honestly, when I see students from years ago, the first thing they always ask me is, how are the ARGs? What's going on with the ARGs? And I still get people, I always post on Facebook and on Twitter, hey, there are mysteries afoot. And then everybody goes and looks at the stuff. So it'll be fun. And the other thing is, I will give you a seed. This is a mystery, something that exists out in the world that already has a whole bunch of content that you can use to build your ARG around, or you can shuttle it off to the side, but it has to be in there somewhere. Okay, that's more than plenty. It's almost 5. I've run over yet again. So I will see y'all on Thursday. Bye.